What are you guys?
Well, we've been called ghost hunters, paranormal researchers.
But we prefer to be known simply as Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Those were not the only names Ed and Lorraine went by. Another name for what they do is demonologist, hence the title of the book I chose to read, The Demonologist, The Extraordinary Career of Ed and Lorraine Warren, by Gerald Brittle. I chose to read this book because I'm interested in the paranormal, but also because I wanted to see how much of movies are real when they say based on a true story, and how much is just Hollywood hocus pocus. Though this book mentions famous cases like the Amityville Horror.
Who are you talking to?
The girl who lives in my closet.
And what's her name?
Jody.
And the case of the Annabelle doll, as made famous by the movie The Conjuring.
It started out small, like a hand or a leg was in a different position, and its head was looking up instead of down. And then one day it was in a completely different room. It was moving around by itself.
You did what?
She wanted to live with us by inhabiting the doll. We said yes. But then things got worse.
The book mainly focuses on the early lives of Ed and Lorraine Warren and how they got into this business. Ed and Lorraine Warren kept many of their cases under wraps from the public until recently, when they have been exposed in many Hollywood movies. Most of the activity they saw came in the 1970s, which they blamed on the refound interest in the occult. After a case, Ed and Lorraine would take the possessed object and even keep it in a museum in their house, which they refer to as the Occult Museum.
You're in probably one of the most haunted places in the world because of the things that are in here. Everything in here has been taken from some place where people are either killed or maimed or so many ways. So it's tragic for me, you know, to even go in. People are very, very interested in the museum.
So how did all this get started? Well, originally Ed and Lorraine Warren wanted to be artists. They would find haunted house ads in the newspaper, go to the houses, paint the houses, and then ask the families of the houses if they wanted a paranormal investigation for extra money. They would start these investigations by doing a walkthrough. Lorraine is said to be clairvoyant, which is basically like a psychic, except she can pick up feelings or emotions from specific objects in the house.
I'm kind of psychic. I have a fifth sense. What do you mean? It's like I have ESPN or something.
While Lorraine took on the responsibility of finding out what had happened or possibly could happen in the house, Ed took on the responsibility of finding out what was happening currently in the house.
Ed attempts to communicate with the troubled spirit.
1 knock for yes, 2 for no. Are you a man? Are you a boy? You want the people in this house to move. 1 knock for yes, 2 for no. Yes. Okay. Who is it that you don't like the most here? Is it? Is it? Is it their father? Is it their mother?
Oh my God. As well as discussing the cases Ed and Lorraine have taken part in and what they do on the cases, the book also discusses how people may be fooled by their own paranoia or fears that there is a ghost in their house. In a quote taken from an interview with Ed Warren, he states, quote, "Misinterpretation, misidentification, delusion, and hallucination account for a great deal of reported, quote-unquote, supernatural activity. Some of the common causes mentioned in the books are radios picking up waves from other stations, faulty wiring in the house, or bad piping." Another phenomenon or explanation discussed in the book are PK levitations. Ed states that the mind is a very powerful thing, and these PK levitations are usually caused by uneasy or frustrated children. The book is pieced together as an interview. The chapters open with a story or posed question, and then the answer is given in the following pages. The writing style is somewhat dry because the author is trying to be unbiased and somewhat detached, since he is writing an a biography about people who work with an already touchy subject. Since the book is mostly cut and dry interviews, the author does his best to spice it up. He uses vivid imagery while describing cases that Ed and Lorraine went on to paint a picture in the reader's mind. The author also tries different, less effective methods to intrigue the reader. One of these being an overuse of italics. This creates a false sense of importance and ultimately undermines what the author was trying to do. The author also uses exclamation points relatively frequently. This creates an almost mocking tone because exclamation points are so frowned upon in serious writing. When I selected the book, I didn't really know what to expect of the writing style because I selected it more based on content. Overall, I enjoyed the book despite the somewhat dry style of just presenting it as a question and answer type process. But this presentation style was also good because it allowed the writer to stay unbiased and achieve his purpose of telling the story of the Warrens.